my favorite series, World of Asia Rules Instead of Europe. It seems that this series is getting more popular, so I'll be doing another episode now. This will have even more drama. Another war in Southeast Asia is brewing as the president of Bisa was assassinated. Basically, what happened was was a spy from Gravista went into Bisa and assassinated the president of Bisa. So, the president of Bisa was assassinated, and the vice president was forced to take over. Meanwhile, the war in this area continues. The war against the trained states in Krika begin as Salsa is able to invade all these countries here as well. The trading states are defeated relatively quickly. Another country joins in against the trading states, and that is Wallachia. Wallachia invades the trading states from up north, taking out the capital. The trading states, which is amongst one of the oldest countries in Europe, was finally defeated. These countries were a neutral country, and they start to collapse immediately as they have no army. Giving many countries a lot of land. As well, and also Asti is no longer blocked from having a coast. Now it is just Dolsa versus Asti in Krika. Dolsa continues to invade Krika and Asti. These are amongst the two oldest countries in Europe. Dolsa starts to invade a lot of the land areas here. Meanwhile, at the same time, Bisa declares war on Gravista. They start to send a lot of the armies into the northern states as well. They start to see that Gravista is a country not worth liking. They basically surround the capital of Gravista from mostly the lesser populated jungle areas as well. Meanwhile, the war in Europe continues as well. Salsa continues to invade Krika and takes over the capital. Asi also gets taken out the capital as well. This causes the war to get even worse for both countries. Salsa, wanting to create their own empire, is now succeeding in it. Bisa, the first democratic nation in the world, starts to invade a lot of these areas. Most people approve of this war, considering the fact that their own president was just duly elected as well. Considering the fact that the country has had peaceful transitions of power for centuries. And very few presidents, of course, there are presidents that died of diseases and stuff, but no president has ever been assassinated by another country. Bisa starts to invade Gravista's populations here. Nai, only seeing the opportunity, starts to invade Gravista as well. Gravista is now at war with Nai. Nai and Bisa form an alliance here. The war with Salsa ends, and Salsa takes over the area. Wallachia, also was aiding them as well. Bisa continues to invade Gravista in the battle. Defeat Gravista in the battle, only having a very little bit of land left, as well as Nai takes over the very rest of the land. Yeah. This eastern portion surrenders. Now, with most of the army now concentrated here, Gravista is now slowly descending on the capital, which they surrender. Two peace treaties occur at the very same time. Yeah, so Salsa will annex all of this land here. The train states will be disbanded and destroyed as a nation. as well, one of the oldest countries in the world, which even tomorrow respected their existence. All of Krika and Asti will be annexed into the Saracen Empire. Okay, we're trying to fix this here. They'll also expand their claims up north, annexing all of the islands by Krika. Krika, one of the oldest countries in the world, is destroyed, as the aids of expansionism will leave a lot of these weaker countries exposed. Tomorrow senses the danger to sets up an even larger army within its own borders. These three countries, Asari, Tau, and Aston, disagree with each other a lot. They don't know what to do. These countries all hate each other. This starts with a new war. Asari invades Tau and Astan here, whereas these countries just recently gained their independence as well. Meanwhile, the peace treaty in Southeast Asia will begin. Bisa will gain all of this land here. Here, Nai will gain all of this land in between, and will gain almost all of this land here. Gravista will now become a small state over here. Here with very little population, it will be an example of a rump state, a country that used to hold much power, but now does not really hold any weight whatsoever. Meanwhile, Timin starts to invade the Swallow country. They start to invade many of the southern portion of the country and take out the capital relatively quickly. This causes Swallow to completely surrender, as well leaving Bolsa and Tisa left. Tulsa, however, does not like the expansion of Taman, which is a country that continues to expand throughout the southern portion of Asia. Meanwhile, this entire area starts to hate each other. Asari basically defeats both Aston and Tau, as they are the most powerful and populated part of the country. They defeat both Aston and Tau very quickly while the other wars were happening, and Aston and Tau are defeated and are no longer independent states. Asari is now a new empire as well, as now we're going into the age of empires. Yes, after the Dark Ages have ended. In Europe, Fusaka continues to expand its claims into what will be now Czech Republic. This causes the country to be massive. A new country, however, is set up here. Marin is an independent established country that will now exist in Europe. Wallachia, however, sees the opportunity to expand. Wallachia has never really expanded that much, so they expand further north, annexing many areas that would otherwise be impossible to own. Wallachia now is an important nation. Now it is much more important as they now start to settle areas that were normally not theirs. The capital will still be in the same area. Here, Serbia will also expand as Europe starts the age of expansionism. Serbia will expand further north as well, giving Europe looking way more complete. Meanwhile, the Central Asian expansion continues, as well as a new nation is created amongst all of these lakes here. This country, however, is pretty weak, but it only borders one other country as well. And given these country will be a pretty important country. Taro will be the same. Yeah, it's very hard to see the country's name, but that will be the country it's called. Also, another expansion into Central Asia begins by this side, by the Chinese. A new Chinese country is set up here. And Wuya is set up as an official country. The expansion into Central Asia continues as new countries are now being formed as well. So you can actually see the country's name. And around 1000, the last Central Asian country is created. So now there's a massive trade route going through this area. Yeah. A new Central Asian country, which is both half Chinese and half Central Asian ethnicities, is Azerbaijan. And this country is now here. There's now a massive trade route, and now the Central Asian countries are no longer very poor. As now there used to be a massive trade route leading through India, but now there's one going through the north. This causes the Chinese to be very happy and very pleased with this outcome, as they would have never expected something like this. Pentakovan continues to expand for the eastward, as well becoming one of the largest countries in the world. Pentakovan continues to expand here. And yeah, they are one of the largest countries in the world. They used to be a very small, insignificant nation, very weak country. But they no longer are happy being called Pentanovan as well. They do not want to be called that anymore. They want to be called by their new name. And their language is Pentivias, which is now the actual name. Or would it be called Pentanovan? Pentanovan. Dante also starts to expand further north. They expand their borders very far, causing conflicts between Feta and Dante. These two countries used to be one country, but now they have been separated for centuries. This causes a massive rift between Feta and Dante, as Feta has not really gained much. Meanwhile, Dante is now expanded a lot as well. Gantana will also continue to expand, cutting off Feta forever. This caused Feta to be very, very upset. The government of Feta does not like Gantana and Dante's expansion, and relations between these two countries and Feta sour massively, as they don't like this expansionism. as well. The world will continue on expanding as well. Here. Also, we have a new China update. So, Sifa declares war on Kong, taking Kong out. Here, this country gained their independence. Yeah, and this is a southern Chinese nation. Yeah, so this country is defeated Kong, and Kong completely surrenders. They also lose the capital in the process. Meanwhile, the colonization of Indonesia continues, with Swift colonizing this island here. These island colonies continue by these countries here. Otia continues its own colonization. Here, giving it Borneo will be divided between Otia and Nizaki. Nai will continue its colonization in Bisa, which will start its official colonization, colonizing the rest of Java as well. Zhao, which is basically the Zinese descendant state, will also continue to expand further north and expand into Papua New Guinea as well. Also, Sifa will start to create its own colonies in northern Sulawesi as well, creating basically starting to create a colonial pathway towards Zhao, which is already an established nation. However, some people are fed up by it with the Zhaoan government again and create another nation down here. Vance, which is mostly people of oppressed ethnicities, these move and create their own country as well. However, Vance is a very anti-immigration country, as they basically just are sick of the Chinese ethnicities, basically. So yeah, Vance is mostly the Southeast Asian ethnicities as well, and Phyllis also starts to expand for the South. Giving it many parts of Papua New Guinea as well. However, New Zealand is discovered. Yep, New Zealand is discovered by Zhao and also a bunch of these islands here, but they don't really have the stability to conquer these islands. They do, however, conquer these Australian islands nearby, as those are much more easier, and they also conquer Timor as well. Miro Nadai starts to expand rapidly into central China, which means this area is more Indian now than China. But now we're heading towards a breaking point we might be heading towards a breaking point to a major war. Yeah, we have Tamara, Gaza hate each other, Asari, Pentanovan, all these countries hate each other, and a lot of these areas hate each other. But I think we're not at that point yet where there's a massive world war. There needs to be a very large country as well, but there are several large countries: Tamara, Gaza, Dosa, Bisa as well. They're not the largest countries in the world, but of course there'll be countries like Rufu or Ruya or Kanto as well. Kanto also starts to expand further north, and yeah, this just kicking off the age of exploration, because this is now the 1200s, and now we're kicking off the age of exploration, which causes Kanto to basically annex all of this area here. Meanwhile, the European countries are trying to find ways to get to Greenland and try to reach the fabled North American colonies that exist. as Garcia becomes the first country outside of Asia to discover North America. As Garcia forms the fourth North American colony, they form around this coastline. The population will be very small for now, but they will be the next country to officially colonize Northern America. They also colonize the southern tip of Greenland as well, giving them a lot of land here. Meanwhile, Warpy colonizes the northern part of the British Isles here. Meanwhile, people who are dissatisfied with the Warpian government because the country is a monarchy flee, however, the island. They create a republic, the fourth non-monarchy, non-dictatorship in the world, and this country will be totally separate. Warpy does not know this is going on, so they does do nothing about this. So there's now an Irish state as well. And yeah, this episode, a lot of developments have happened. Pentagon also starts to connect with Tara as well, giving it basically a lot of land. Pentagon has never really conquered any nations, and they're already this powerful. Meanwhile, Asari does not like Pentagon, Garza, and Tamara. Yeah, this might cause a great war in the Middle East between all four nations. And that's about this video here. Goodbye. And yeah. So here is an updated map of... So we have two new religions that popped up, including the new religion of Kanim and New Zhao, which is basically a branch of Zhaoism that exists in Australia. Kimim is a new religion that popped up that spread very quickly and rapidly. And also, we have an update on Europe. Nazism is the number one religion in most of these countries. Meanwhile, Klika still holds on, expanded a lot. However, Pianke expanded the most, expanding amongst the expanding countries and also expanding into Central Asia. Also, religion continues to expand into the New World, as well as Pinta doesn't really expand all too much, even as pushed out a little bit. It is mostly restricted to North Africa and the Iberian Peninsula. Penone is still mostly restricted to the Middle East and, East and Eastern Africa. Medizium does expand into China, and Hosi expands into many colonies as well. Meanwhile, Kanin becomes very popular in villas and expands to many colonial areas as well. So the region map mode is becoming more interesting as well. And that is it about this video here. Goodbye.